Hi, guys. Mike. Guess what day it is? Hump day. Hi. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Let me say hi to everybody. Let's see who we got in here. We got Aries. Hi. Molson. Hello, you cool cats and kittens. It's Molson, man. Hey, Diane. Yes, it was either MK Diane or Shamina who gifted memberships the other night. Cement Shoes, hello. Hey Kate, hey Punksy, hey Crime Sleuth, and K Braze will be. Hey, how's everybody doing? Angela, good to see you guys. Punksy, hello Corky. Hey Minnie Mo, good to see you. Hey Crystal, hey Kayla, welcome and welcome. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Vanessa. All right, you guys. Well, before we get started, for reals, how about this?
And Kai, when you're on Jen Lou's channel, what do you do with the like button?
Smash! Yeah.
I hope that's not getting old for you guys, because low-key, I don't think it'll ever get old for me. I just can't help it. Hey, Abra. How you doing? Y'all, today was so much. So much. But we didn't get to talk about too much yesterday either because I did the roast. So I kind of wanted to go over some parts. Hey, Jules. Oh, thank you. I try to think of myself as edutainment. Just kidding. I'm not mainly entertainment. So yeah. Hang on just 1 second. Nestor's having a senior moment. Hey, Gregory, give me just 1 second, you guys. I'm sorry. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Cousin Eddie. Okay. Sorry about that. My bad. So, yeah, Nestor gets real pacey around 9 o'clock in the evening time. He gets very restless. So, okay. So, what had happened was this morning, both the state and the defense were arguing. And they made, because, of course, Jim Griffin, who I don't know if Jim should be an attorney at this point. Honestly, Jim, maybe you can be like, work in some type of field where you get to kick in doors, because you seem to love. Maybe you can open doors, like go, live in New York or something and be like a doorman and open the doors for people, because you love doing that shit. So yesterday, Jim had, hey Jenny, had opened up a door. Hey Jessica, Tia, good to see you. All the shirts. Almost said something else. Good to see you. Welcome, LFT. Hello. Okay. So, just all he does is open up doors. Anyway, so what happened yesterday is when they were when Jim was cross-examining Maggie's sister, Marianne, he specifically asked, she said something like, okay, now Alice is on it. Come on, Alice, get up here. So she said something like that then things started to in September, things started to change. And here he goes like a fool. What changed? So, of course, everything came to a halt, and then they wanted to question her outside of the jury's presence, because obviously we're talking about the September side of the road incident. Okay. The side of the road incident, for which, by the way, neither people involved have gone to court for like trial over. Okay. They've had pre-trial and stuff like that. So essentially, the judge said, okay, I'm going to hear, make your arguments tomorrow, yada, yada, yada. Because, of course, the defense was against it. So they make their arguments this morning. And they were actually, I have to say, Harpootlian made some very compelling arguments, because really what the state wanted to play was the phone call between Sled and Harpootlian and Murdaugh, and I think Griffin too. So, as if that is going to absolve, like the way Harpootlian talks about this phone call is, we initiated contact, blah, 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 right? Well, you only had to initiate contact in the first place because your client was doing some fraudster level shit again. Only this time, it involved pew-pews and him, firearms and him, right? And he's saying that he's got, he was shot in the head. He's got a brain bleed. He's, on top of that, he's just left detox, yada, 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 yada. So that's really what they wanted to play. And so Judge Newman was like, you know what, though? I think that might be an overreach. I think that it's going to go, it's a bridge too far. If, if it were the financial trial, I would let it in, but that's not what this is about. So they weren't going to let it in. So everything was going along swimmingly, sort of, until, and we're going to get to that right now. Let me get over to the YouTubes so I can show y'all this cross-examination. The direct examination of Special Agent Owens went along swimmingly. He was telling all the things, he showed up, and he was late getting there. He was not late because he did anything. It's just that when he was notified and then then got out there, it was around midnight. So it was kind of late, and everybody else is kind of already out there, and they're already kind of, doing their thing. And so, he's getting, briefed and apprised of the situation. And, he's like, all right. So, he's the one that we see in the police car. He's in the front seat. He's the one interviewing Alec Murdaugh with the female agent from SLED behind Murdaugh. And then Danny is in the back seat next to her. That's that first body cam. What's not really a body cam? It's the police cam. It's he put it on the visor. That's him. So, everything's going along swimmingly. The interview that he conducts with Murdaugh ends, and he ends up going back up to the house. He's the one that took possession of the police car ensemble, the white shirt, the green pant or shorts, and the shoes, right? He did that. That was his job. Puts it in a bag and sends it off. Everything is going along. Things seem to be working out just fine. And then it's time for cross. So, and that's what we're going to get to. Alice, just a second. Hold on. Oh, Alice. All right, get up here. Come on. Come on. She drives me nuts. She keeps hitting my hand away from the mouse. Oh, I'm having a difficult time clicking on the correct video that I'm trying to play for you guys, because she's out of control. Alice, stop that. Hold on. Come on, get up here. So this was a difficult cross-examination. They also played. I want to play this part too, because during this, hey Mallory, hey Allie, this Agent Owens being on the stand during his examination, they also are playing the third and final interview. This is the interview with Alex Murdaugh, Cody, something or other. It starts with an F, is there. And she's got me all distracted, y'all. I can't even think of people's. I mean, I already struggle with names as it is, but now Alice has me really struggling. So anyway, he's got his attorney in there, and this is the third and final interrogation. So I wanted to share this part because this is the part that's, I mean, there's important, the whole interrogation is important, right? But and I'm sure I will be roasting that interrogation as well at some later date. So yes, Newman has been involved in a lot of the pretrial situations, and also with Eddie too. All right, so here we go. So we're gonna watch this. This is when it gets a little tense with Alec, and my main issue with Alec throughout this entire interrogation is, hey Amanda, good to see you. I've learned a lot. Hey. My main issue with Alec in this interrogation video is the fact that he continues to ask about the crime. Hey, and the problem is with it is, if you were just looking at it on the surface, you would think, okay, he's just trying to follow the investigation, and he wants to know, the police are on top of it, right? Except for it's the way that he's doing it. It's not actually it isn't like he's not interested because he hopes they find the real killer, right? It's like he's fishing. It comes, hey, Brittany, how you doing, babe? Oh, thank you. You guys are so sweet. Thank you so much. He is fishing. He wants to know what the popos know. Hey, a human being. Good. Hey, Woody, good to see you guys. So what I'm going to play now is a part. This is what I call a donkey barbecue. Okay. Basically, a donkey barbecue is where your ass gets called on the carpet and you get asked about things you probably don't want to talk about, and you're going to be in trouble. Typically, it happens at your job. For example, when Jeannie said to Alec, we can go in your office and talk about it, right? And she did. That's a donkey barbecue. Typically is something that occurs in the workplace, but this works too. This is a whole donkey barbecue as well. All right, so here we go. We're going to play this. Well, let me make sure I added it to the stream. Okay, I did.
He came by the shed, and Paul and I were up there, or if we met her at the house. But, it's not unusual for her, if we're messing around, for her to swing through up there. Mm-hmm. And maybe wasn't supposed to be coming home. I've since found out she was worried about me, and me worried about my dad. Mm-hmm. And so she came home.
So at that point in the interview, she said, did he tell you she came home because she was worried about his dad?
Yes.
Basis for the objection.
Leading, he just repeating what the jury just heard on the video.
Yes, sir.
God, I can play it and come back and ask him to clarify that. That's all. Go ahead, please.
Okay, let me just say this. Now, Griffin, you're just doing too much. Okay. First of all, let me just say that, okay, should he, it's the way that he asked the question. What he should have said is, can you repeat what he just said there? That's what he should have done. Because asking it the way he asked it, that is leading, and it's really not, it's not allowed on direct. But the problem is that Alec at this point has gone into full donkey bray where he's like one octave below only dogs can hear. And it's very difficult to understand what he's saying. And the other problem is exactly Jenny, as Jenny is stating here, the deal is this. She doesn't want to hang out at Moselle. Everybody and their dog has, and if the dogs could testify, the dogs would testify to that too. I feel sure that Bubba and Grady would be like, Mom didn't want to be here. No, she did not. She liked our beach. We liked our beach too. Anyway, so of course, he manipulated her. And this, I was talking about this with LFT, Tia, and Brittany, I think, was on the panel, and Kate. Might have been the night Kate and LFT and Tia were on the panel. I don't know. One of these damn nights. I feel like an Eagles song. Anyway, so one of the nights, we talked about this. The lure isn't like what we traditionally think of as a lure. What he did was he manipulated Maggie because she did care about him, because she was worried about him, and because, quite frankly, they were in it together with this boat lawsuit. And that's the truth. And she did come over there, but not, she didn't just, Brittany, thank you, babe. You didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. That's the song. One of these craziness. Thank you so much, Brittany. That was so sweet of you. I appreciate you. She didn't, exactly, twin mom. She didn't want to leave the remodeling. And you know, that's the truth. You don't want to leave when your home's being remodeled, you got to stay on top of it. You really do. And that's the truth. She didn't want to, but she did. Okay. And I'm completely off in the weeds now because I was irritated with Jim standing up and interjecting. But the truth is, the whole parts of the interview are incredibly hard to understand because, again, he is in this moment, again, in full donkey bray, and one octave below only the dogs can hear. But he should have asked it a different way. I love how, Jim, you're apprised of the law now. You know how it works now after you done opened up every freaking door you could. If I were Alec, I don't even care at this point. If it were me and I was Alec, I would tell Jim he can't sit. I would be, the minute court started and they brought me in over to the table, I would be telling Jim, you can't sit with us. You sit in the pew behind us. I wouldn't let him sit at the table. I'd be pissed. All right, here we go. Also, please note the pants that he's wearing. I believe these are, I don't know.
The man was supposed to be coming home. I've since found out she was worried about me and me worried about my dad. Mm-hmm. And so she came home.
Where is she going to stay that night?
Just so you know, I just want you to pay attention to his pantalones. These are his, whatever day of the week the 11th was in August in 2021. Those are his, every time we've seen him, has he not been wearing khakis? There you go. So that's another thing I want to point out. He has 11 billion pairs of khakis. The man loves his khakis. What can I say? It is what it is. So we don't know what pair of khakis was on the floor. We don't know if those are the work khakis, the after work khakis, the pre-nap khakis, the after the nap khakis. We don't know. He's got 1,100 billion pairs of them. All right, here we go.
And we were having work done down there. And I wasn't 100%, but it's pretty well she was going to stay at Edisto.
So it kind of surprised you that she came back?
That didn't totally surprise me. She'd let me know earlier that she was coming home. But then I found out later why she came home.
That is not the Seafoam
Sure.
polo. That looks like a baby blue or powder blue polo.
Not too long after that, Blanc had made dinner.
Hey, Madam Nixie, good to see you.
And so the three of us ate dinner together.
What was the conversation around that?
Normal. Regular stuff.
My mom was pregnant with me when she went
Yeah,
to
I
an
can't
Eagles
tell you
concert
exactly,
with
but-
my dad. The Eagles is
How
in
was
my
Maggie's
blood.
apartment in Charleston that day?
Oh, here we go. It's
I
time for
think it had
the
gone good. We didn't really
mid-morning snack
I
of
mean, we
snot.
get. She's been having
Good night,
a
Punksy.
couple little medical issues. I can't even remember which one. It wasn't anything huge. I
Hey,
can't
Red
remember
Eye
exactly
Obsolete,
which
good
one
to see
she
you.
went for.
And after dinner, Maggie and Paul went to the kennels, or?
You know, I don't know exactly how that went.
Eating snot again.
I stayed on the couch and I dozed off.
Mm-hmm. Dozed off,
And then I
nodded
got
off.
up.
Tomato.
Did you watch TV that night?
I know the TV was, I believe the TV was on. But I wasn't watching it. You know, I mean,
Stop right there, please. I'm not going to repeat that, but this next question regarding a tree video, had you confronted him with that before?
No, sir, I had not.
Okay, please go ahead.
There is a video on Paul's phone of you and him on the farm that night, and you were in khaki pants and a dress shirt. You were playing with a tree.
I don't remember playing with a tree.
I guess there was a
I
tree.
don't
sapling or
remember
something
playing
that
with the
was
tree.
or bending over, and you were trying to get it to
Hey,
stand
Claire.
up, stand up. But I mean, the question in that is, when I met you that night, you were in shorts and a t-shirt. At what point in the evening did you change clothes?
He looks like a tomato wearing a onesie.
I'm not sure. It would have been,
Before dinner or after dinner?
no, it would have been,
This ain't a multiple choice. Help him
what
out.
time of day was that? I would have thought I'd already changed.
There's not a time.
Is he asking you now what time that picture was?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I was down on it. There's so many posts, but I want to say it looks to be about dusk. So that would have been 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Hey, Nonstop Mom.
I guess that changed when I got back to the house.
Earlier when we spoke, and you talked about waking up from your nap and then going to check on your mother, and you tried to call Maggie and you tried to call Paul, and then you sent Maggie a text that you were going to check on your mother. You also told me that Maggie didn't normally go with you to check on your mother, but that she might ride that night. Did you go by and check on her?
Go back and check on my mom?
Maggie, before you let you go?
No, I didn't.
With her not responding to you,
Here we
and thinking
go.
that she might ride with you, why didn't you?
Hey, Tomboy Charm.
I don't
Hey, Elizabeth.
remember having plans that Maggie was going to ride with me. But maybe she had told me that she was that night. I don't I don't recall that. I don't remember that specifically.
These are lies. When he sat in that first interview, and I hesitate to call it an interview, but that's what it was. When the cops took his statement in the cop car on the night of June 7th, he did say that Maggie was going to go with him to see his dad. What happened to the plan to go see your dad? That would have been a way better alibi. They got a whole ass video cameras at hospitals, Alec, which I'm sure you know. All right, here we go.
But, it wasn't, she didn't normally go with me. I mean, it's not like we had plans that she was going to ride with me.
You did have plans. What are you talking about, you lying liar face who tells lies? Yes, you did. All the shirts. That's a good point. It is difficult to stash firearms in hospitals. That is frowned upon.
These are just maps on a pull off of Google. Okay.
Uh-oh. What happened here?
What route did you take from?
I like how Alec is all leaning in and
I would
listening.
have gone to the right on Moselle Road, 63, into Barnville, turn left.
If he does the bend and snap, I'm going to be done.
The road, right before 278, 601.
This is
And
not
then-
what I clicked. That is not. Did you hear him at all ask about the video? I didn't. Now I'm going to have to go find the right one. Bruh. What, Alice? All right, so let me find the footage from today so that I can show y'all this cross-examination, because holy moly. All right. Hold on, Alice. Did y'all hear her? She's so naughty. All right, hold on. All right. All right. Oh, this is when it gets good. So please to hold. Oh, wait, hold on. All right, here we go. It starts off contentious from a jump. Let me just start this for y'all, and then I have got to clearly take care of one, Alice. Yes, Alice, I've heard you. The whole chat has heard you. I'm going to come. Just give me a second. Sheesh. I can't believe I'm being bossed around by something that weighs less than a sack of sugar. All right, here y'all go. I'll be right back.
You explain, and I think to explain about
Hey, Lori.
sort of the investigative circle.
Oh, Alice is
Yes, sir.
done.
And I think
Hey,
you
Trista.
talked to Alec about that on the video, that he is in the circle.
Yes, sir.
And he was in the circle from the moment he called 911, correct?
I would say yes.
And no one had to give you any lead to put him in the circle, right?
No, sir. He called 911. He's the one who discovered him. He's closest in relation to him.
So when you're asked about, were you given any other credible leads except the one that led to Alec Murdaugh? I mean, he was there from the moment he called 911.
Yes, sir.
And what has happened over the last year and a half, 2 years is, as you explained, you've been unable to get him out of the circle. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
So if someone's in the circle and can't get themselves out, they end up sitting over there where he is today. That's what happens. Isn't that right?
As long as there's credible evidence to keep them in that circle, yes.
We're going to get to that. Here, SLED failed to take immediate steps. I mean, maybe it's not all SLED, but SLED and the Colleton County Sheriff's Department failed to take immediate steps to preserve evidence that could possibly exclude Alec Murdaugh from that circle. Would you agree with that?
I don't think it was a failure, no, sir.
Well, let's get this right. Your investigation, as I understand it, leads you to conclude that Paul and Maggie were murdered sometime between 8:50 p.m. on June the 7th and 9:06 p.m., correct?
Yes, sir.
And whoever murdered Maggie and Paul would, at a minimum, have in their possession an AR-15 style assault rifle and a 12-gauge shotgun, correct?
Not unless they got rid of it.
Well, the moment they were murdered,
Yes.
someone had to have, one person or two people had to have murder weapons, right?
Yes.
Paul was murdered with a 12-gauge, right?
Yes, sir.
You would agree then that the murderer had a 12-gauge shotgun.
Yes.
You would agree that the murderer had some AR-15 style assault weapon that killed Maggie, right?
Yes, sir.
And you would agree at the time they were murdered, they would have those weapons.
Yes.
And would you agree that whoever murdered Maggie and Paul would likely have blood and biological material on them following the shotgun blast that essentially blew Paul's brains out of his head?
They would have some, yes.
And on the night of June the 7th, you said it was after midnight, so we'd go early morning hours, but 1 a.m. on June the 8th, you interviewed Alec, and he told you that he had left Moselle sometime between 9 and 9:10 to check on his mother. Is that right?
That is correct.
So if Alex was the perpetrator, as alleged, he would have had to brutally murder his wife and son sometime after 8:50 p.m. and 9:06, dispose of the murder weapons either somewhere on the Moselle property, within the Moselle residence, along the drive to Alameda, or at his mother's residence or property at Alameda. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, immediately when law enforcement arrived, they secured the immediate murder scene.
That is my understanding. Yes.
Down at the kennels. And they eventually thoroughly searched the Moselle residence. There was a search of the Moselle residence the next day, correct?
That is correct.
You know what time that was? Early afternoon, late morning?
That's approximate time, yes.
And no murder weapons were found in the residence, is that correct?
That is correct.
And no murder weapons were found on the property at Moselle, is that correct?
That is correct.
And was a search of the route between Moselle and Alameda ever done?
It wasn't walked from Moselle to Alameda, but it was driven several times.
And you didn't find any weapons there, correct?
No, sir.
And was a search of the waterways along the route done between Moselle and Alameda?
Most waterways, yes.
Excuse me?
Most waterways, I don't know if every single one was searched, but there were several waterways searched.
Now we know from the General Motors OnStar data delivered during the middle of this trial that Alec did not stop from the moment he left Moselle to drive to Alameda. Is that correct?
Correct.
You've reviewed that.
Yes.
There's no detours along the way, correct?
No, sir.
And you never searched the Alameda property for any signs of murder evidence, guns, bloody clothes, or anything until well after sometime in mid to late September. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You could have searched Alameda that night, correct?
If I had probable cause to, yes, sir.
Well, was anybody denying consent?
That's not really the point, Jim. You started off, and let me just say this. Hey, Max. Hey, Ellie. I mean, he got crunk on question number 1. I mean, he came out the gate crunk. He was turned when he stepped up to do the questioning. But let me just say this. The point here is that you started out by saying that we're on some kind of bootleg hokey pokey and in the circle, and we're putting our left leg in and taking our left leg out, and we're doing all the things. And at the end of the day, everybody else can do the hokey pokey, but Alex can't because he's in the circle and he can't get out of the circle. And he's just poor put upon. Well, hang on, Tristan, I'll tell you. So that's what you started off with, right? This bootleg hokey pokey analogy, right? Well, that's really mine because I'm funnier than you, but whatever. Anyway, so that's what you think is going on here. But yet, if he was suspect number 1 and only number 1 and never did get out of the circle, and this is like some meet the parents type shit, he's not in the circle, he's in the circle, I don't even know. But anyway, but yet they didn't search Alameda. I mean, does that sound like they treated them like a suspect from day one? Doesn't to me. It sounds like to me, through their investigation and questioning of other people, other witnesses, that Alec, due to his lying liar face antics, is what kept him on the suspect list and didn't get him off of the suspect list. And excuse me. Oh, yes, the video where, you never went down to, he sounds like NK, never went down to those kennels, right? But you did go down to the kennels because Rogan heard you on the phone and Paul caught your voice on video. You rat fink. Yes. Look at Detective Owen. Look at Agent Owens' face. He's got his eyes closed. His lips are tight. He looks like I feel.
To search. When I say Alec Murdaugh gave you carte blanche consent to search anywhere in those properties. Did he not?
Yes, he did.
And John Marvin was assisting SLED and facilitating wherever you wanted to look. Wasn't he doing that?
Yes, but the night of June
John Marvin
7th,
on trial?
even Alec was in the circle basically by default because of his close relationship with the victims and finding them. I did not consider him the main suspect or the only suspect because I had no probable cause and no evidence to support that he killed his wife and son.
You were following the law?
Well, if a thorough, tight, quick, prompt investigation had been taken from the Moselle property, the route to Alameda, and the Alameda property, that could have possibly excluded Alec from this circle, couldn't it? If you found no evidence of guns, bloody clothes, or anything, right?
If you know what you're looking for and where to look, and have
Probable
some type
cause.
of information that would lead you to that area, yes.
And that opportunity was missed. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't say it was missed because it wasn't known about, other than several hours later when we get to the bodies and there are no weapons found. It wasn't until the casings and the shot shells were recovered that I actually knew what the calibers were.
No, I get, okay.
Open another door, Jim. Come on. Look at
Pretty
Alec.
clear the night of of the murders, Colleton County Sheriff's deputies on the scene recognized the shell casings as being 300 blackouts, correct?
That is what they told me, but I want to verify for myself.
Right. And by 6,
Now-
7, 8 o'clock the next morning on June the 8th, Rogan Gibson had been interviewed where he said, I thought I heard Alec Murdaugh's voice in the background.
Are you trying to help your client get to the jail quicker?
And Alec had told you.
Look, here's the deal. I'll say this. You can't have it both ways. I'm sure Buster was in court, Molson, but I didn't see him because they've told the family they have to move back from the where they're sitting. They can't sit directly behind Alex anymore. Hold on. I want to put it a little further ahead. Here's the deal. You can't have it both ways. Either he was the only suspect and they treated him like the only suspect and they bent the evidence to make him be where he is today, not just the suspect, but now he's on trial, right? Accused, he stands accused, or he wasn't. It's not the same thing. Now, I'll tell you, should they probably have gone? Yes, I would have. If I'd have been running the show, but they don't ask me. If I'd have been running the show, I would have said, let's pop on over to everywhere. And I would have shut Moselle down. I would not have let the entire law firm be there and the entire extended family. Nobody would have been staying at Moselle that night or any other night, period, until I was ready to clear that crime scene. Blanca wouldn't have been allowed to come and straighten up in the morning. None of that would have happened, and it shouldn't have happened. But it is sloppy police work, and to an extent, Jim Griffin is right about that. But I personally feel that a lot of the reason that it was sloppy police work, and this is not a good excuse, and I just think it's the reason. It's not a good one. But I do think that because it was Alec Murdaugh, I do believe that they treated him with preferential treatment and many, many protocols were ignored, which is why the case is more circumstantial and there isn't direct evidence. That's what I believe. I think had they not treated him with preferential treatment, I think they would have had a much stronger case. That's the truth. I still think that they got the right person. Now, as far as how I think that the trial is going to end up, well, I have to say, I had one feeling this morning when I was watching. Exactly. Even Jim was there. So that's the other part. You know, here's Jim asking all these questions as if he doesn't know what happened. Yo ass was there, Jim. You saw how he was treated. He was treated like a friend. He wasn't treated like a suspect, for Pete's sake. He was treated even better than a witness, because usually when the way a witness gets treated is they get hustled off immediately to get to take a statement. They want a statement from a witness immediately. Hey, NorCal Jim, good to see you. So it's annoying to me that, you know what? I think you're right. Yes. Okay, LFT, gotcha. I think, and I have a picture too that I just, when I was going to make another thumbnail because Cousin Eddie, I have a picture of Moselle of the front, and there's no gate in that one either. I'm not sure who that is, JT. That's probably just somebody, just a spectator who came to see, because, but none of this was handled, in my opinion. There's a lot of problems with the way this case was handled. And the reason I believe it was handled the way it was is because his last name is Murdaugh. Hey, truth teller.
in the
Oh,
areas
yeah.
of
Me and Jim, Mr. Griffin, we on a first name basis, TT. You didn't know?
spatter that were identified belonging to Alec, Maggie, and Paul. Do you remember that?
Yes. And that was from the report that I had in my possession.
And was that accurate?
Now that I have that hemotrace report, the hemotrace indicates the parts that she tested, no human blood was found.
So you didn't know at the time, but you know now that what you told the Colony County Grand Jury was not correct.
This is
that
where he
fair?
lied.
In reference to the shirt, correct?
All right. So look, this is problematic. Okay. And it's all, and believe me, if they could get him up on charges, if he did something really wrong, he wouldn't be sitting here testifying today. So this is what happened. He testified in front of the grand jury that there was blood spatter because of a report that he was given. There was a further report, more analysis done, more accurate analysis done, and it turns out that it is not blood spatter. In fact, it's not human blood. There is DNA on that shirt, but we don't know what the source of the DNA is. Okay. But it's not blood, which is on its face messed up anyway, because here is Alex talking about, he checked pulses, turned people over, phones popped out. He put phones back on top of bodies, this, that, and the third. And yet this fool has no blood on him anywhere, which is wrong. He should have blood. This whole thing is a mess. JT, Blanca has Bubba. Hey, Mrs. O. Don't gloat, Alec. You don't be over there sitting in judgment of people who have spread misinformation. You've been lying this whole time. So
few other things right quick.
Yeah, right quick. Yeah, get you a clean.
On the night of early morning hours of June the 8th,
and that's another thing, Alec, I just would like to address really quick, just as a side note. I can see, by the way, now for sure, that you have a box of Kleenex at your disposal. You don't need to use the same one to blow your nose and promptly wipe your face. That's nasty. Come on, that's gross. Get your life right. Here we go.
you obtained Alec's clothes.
Go ahead and poke
his shirt,
yourself
shorts,
in the eye one more good
shoes.
time.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned in your testimony that
Oh, is it fish
that you
blood?
wanted to get them there and then, but Buster was coming to the house, and so you graciously allowed Alec to go greet his son, and then you went up and got his clothes, correct?
Yes.
And when you got his shirt, did you well, let me back up.
Yeah,
you were
back
standing
up,
in
yeah.
the doorway as he was changing,
Yes.
so you could see him changing.
When he took his shorts off, I gave him some privacy.
And then he came out.
I'm sure your eyes
and
are grateful.
dropped the shorts in a bag.
Yes. I can't remember if he dropped them in there or if he handed them to me and then I put them in there.
And if you handed them you would have had latex gloves on for sure, right?
Yes.
And did you put the shorts in one bag
Yes.
and then drop the T-shirt in another bag?
We've already
Yes.
established that. We saw the bags.
And-
What is the point of this, Jim?
And the shoes, I guess, in a third bag?
Yes,
Yes.
And did that happen sort of in the hallway?
That happened right there while I was standing in the doorway. Yes.
And at the time, Alec was wearing, I guess, sort of like gym shorts or something
Oh, for
he'd put on.
fuck's sake.
He put on clothes after he had changed. Yes.
Do you remember what kind of clothes he put on? Like,
Not exactly. No,
Good
sir.
night,
shorts?
Crime Sleuther. Thank
I don't
you.
recall what he put on afterwards.
was it T-shirt?
I do not recall what he put on afterwards.
You've asked him this 8 times
Can you
now.
say
He
for
doesn't
sure it
know
wasn't a
his
pair of khaki pants?
outfit. Thank you.
Can you say for sure it was not a pair of khaki pants?
I do not know what he put on afterwards.
Get the crayons out, Mr. Owens. He ain't getting it.
Now, we've heard about a pair of khaki pants
Here we go.
laying on the floor of the bathroom. Did SLED, Agent McAllister, anyone ever sees a pair of khaki pants from the house?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, JT, that's interesting. I'll get to that. Hang on. Let me.
One of the
push
things
buttons.
that you testified to, and
I need a break from Jim anyway. He gets on my nerves. Okay, so this is how the defense is being paid for. So remember that Alex's father passed away like a week after the murders. Okay, well, that money that Jim, see, that Alec inherited from his father's estate was put into a trust. It is that trust that is paying for the defense. That's how it's being paid for.
I just want to see if we can clear it up.
Yes, let's try to clear it up.
You stated in your testimony that
Was it 3 days?
Alec
See, I keep
indicated he
hearing
attempted to
different
contact
days.
Nolan Tootin that night. Are you sure it was Nolan and it wasn't Rogan?
He contacted Nolan Tootin that night and attempted to contact Rogan Gibson that night.
Okay.
All right, there you go. Both. The answer is both.
And you also mentioned that as you're driving from Charleston, it's intermittently raining, sometimes hard, sometimes not so hard.
Yes, sir.
And then when you got to Moselle, it looked like it had been raining. Sometimes it rained hard, sometimes not so hard.
Yes, sir.
And wasn't it true that rain was dripping off the rooftop of the kennels and above the feed room onto Paul's body?
That's a fair assessment.
That's
And
problematic.
on his body, and then it was washing down the concrete pad. I mean, that's a fair assessment also, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And if the jury has seen in this trial photos of puddles of water that may look like blood, it's very easily explainable that it came from the rain dropping on Paul's body, right?
Yes.
What is your point with this? Yes, they were out in the boonies, 11 billion miles from civilization, and they had to hustle up.
I think you covered this. Alec Murdaugh called you multiple times, June and July and early August, asking for an update. Did he not?
We communicated. Sometimes it was via text and sometimes it was via phone call.
You're right. And not only did he want an update for himself, but he also kept wanting you to update Maggie's parents as well.
And I met with Maggie's parents.
All right, I got to point this out real quick.
But
No,
Alec
no,
was
no,
requesting
no, no, no.
of you, was he not?
Well, he was requesting that of me, yes. I also intended to meet Maggie's parents regardless if he requested it or not.
Okay. And you're also aware that,
Why was there the pause?
that Alec,
All right. So this is an interesting part to this because, well, this ain't Kenneth. This is Jim Griffin doing this cross-examination. But this is the interesting part. So the video that we watched yesterday, the interrogation video we watched yesterday, that's also takes place in a cop car. That was 3 days after? Yeah. After the murders. It was on the 10th. And I guess it was after that interview that Alec's dad died, because he doesn't mention it all in that video. So it had to have been after. Anyway, that's not even the point. So he does bring up an interesting point here, but he did at the end of that video ask to Special Agent Owens to go and, if he could give Maggie's family like an update, right? And keep them apprised of the investigation. It would put them at ease, explain to them what they're doing, right? Well, at that point, guess where Alec was staying? I get 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. That's right. He was staying with his in-laws. Okay, here we go.
Alec and Buster and his family put up a reward for tips.
I'm not sure what Buster does.
I knew a reward
they
was
did
offered.
put up
It
a
was
reward.
under my impression that it came from the law firm, but I know that a reward was offered of $100,000 with an expiration date.
Sure did have an expiration date like milk. I think Murdaugh and Owens are going to have that he needs to admit right now too.
And in the interview of August 11th, one of the questions that Alec had of you was,
is he still working for Wild
essentially
Wings?
Whether
a reward for information leading to
Maggie
the
and her
arrest
Paul
of whoever
suffered.
killed
Do you remember that?
Paul and
Yes, sir.
Maggie.
And I think you told them that if they did, it wasn't for very long, a matter of seconds. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What is your point? That he lied to her family to give them some measure of comfort? Come on. You're really going to make a big deal out of that, Jim? For reals?
Now,
What are you doing over there with your papers? Origami? What's happening here? Get it together, man. It's like 8 seconds between each question. I've read you for Phil 3 times and you ain't even finished the question. Come on.
we talk about the shot shells. The shot shells that were found in the feed room where Paul was murdered. There was a,
Hey,
there was a buckshot and I think it was Winchester dry lock waterfowl.
Yes, sir.
That's not turkey load, right?
I was told it was turkey loaded first. I'm not a hunter. I'm
There
not
he goes,
100%
blowing his
sure. I
nose
know
and
it was
wiping his
small
eyes
pellets
with
and
the
big
same
pellets.
Kleenex.
I know the difference between small pellets and buckshot.
And that after, okay. So you were operating lead investigator under the impression that it was buckshot and turkey load, right?
Yes. Someone told me that night that it was turkey load.
And turns out it wasn't turkey load. You agree with that?
I agree.
Okay. And
what? Come on.
I think Agent Croft got involved because of his knowledge of firearms and shot shells and the works, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Is there a question in there, Counselor?
And you mentioned that in the interview, you told Alec that that there were multiple guns found on the property that were loaded with buckshot and turkey load. Do you remember that?
I believe I used buckshot, birdshot.
Okay. Well, I mean, Agent Croft had testified, but can you identify any weapons that were loaded with buckshot and birdshot?
See, this is where Jim fell apart. Sorry, Jim, but you fell apart right here. See, in the YouTube world, we call these receipts. So if he told him that in the interview that you're referencing right now, why don't you just play the freaking interview where he said it? Those are called receipts. Get it together, Jim. You're making a hell of a lot more money an hour than I am. Come on.
That were found in the house.
Good question.
Can you identify any weapons found in the house at Moselle that were loaded with buckshot and birdshot?
No, sir.
Both, Kenneth.
Now,
both.
When you told Alec that there were multiple weapons loaded with that same load, buckshot and birdshot, was that an investigative tool, or were you just under the misimpression that that was the case?
Investigative tool.
So you lied to him.
I'm allowed to use trickery to elicit a response.
Sure are. And he's
So
an
you tried to
attorney
trick
and he
him.
knows that.
Agreed?
I'm allowed to use trickery to elicit a response. Yes.
And you're allowed to do it, and you did it.
Yes.
But
what?
you also testified under oath
Oh,
in
here we
front of the
go.
state grand jury. You said basically the same thing, that there were 4 shotguns on the Moselle property, and they were loaded with buckshot and turkey load.
Yes.
Now, were you mistaken then, or were you trying to trick the state grand jury?
No, I was not trying to trick the state grand jury.
You were mistaken.
No.
What, did you not?
The shotguns that we recovered from the house had 2 different loads in them. They weren't Winchester or Federal. They had different loads in them. So when I tell the state grand jury that there's different loads in the shotguns, there were different loads in the shotgun.
So you're saying you weren't telling them that it was buckshot and turkey load, but you were telling them it was just different brand names of something.
I may have used buckshot and turkey load or birdshot, but they were 2 different loads.
Well, I think we established that you SLED did not find any weapons at the house with buckshot and turkey loaded in, right?
That is correct.
Did they find shotguns loaded with buckshot and birdshot? Hey, MK, good to see you. Hey, Aaron. Oh, here we go. I mean, where are you reaching for these?
I'm gonna show you.
Oh, you're going to
page
show us
48.
something now? Can you come
Line.
home? Here we go.
7 through 14 of your statewide.
No, they did not. What, Bill Stewart? Are you talking about the way the guns were loaded?
Hey, gentlemen, do you recognize that to be a copy of your state grand jury testimony?
Yeah, this is but this is problematic, and I'll agree with this. And I've been a little bit confused.
Yes, I do.
I'm not a gun.
And what date was that given?
I don't know anything about guns. I mean, I know how to
Tuesday, November
fire one,
16th,
but I don't know
2021.
anything
All right.
about
And if
these
you'll go
kind of
to
guns.
the page I had open, and
Where are the shotguns found?
I tell you, I'm going to read the question. If you'll read the response, it says, at line 7. All right, and were all of them, to your recollection, loaded that like that? And
Look
your
at
answer
Alec
was
over here trying to get the side.
They
eye,
were
like
they were located loaded in a similar fashion.
in a similar fashion.
Yes, sir.
Question: with one turkey load and one buckshot load.
Response, yes, sir.
All right, thank you. And that was not accurate, correct?
Correct.
Oh, I can't look away either. So, Aaron, I can't be your interventioner. I'm sorry. I'm stuck on this trial too. I can't look away either.
I mean, people do make mistakes, do they not?
Yes, that's why pencils have erasers.
Yes, they do make mistakes.
And people make mistakes about time frequently. Is that right?
I would believe that would be the most mistake made is time.
Okay. And here, you were asked to identify inconsistencies
It's under contract, JT.
with Alec's statements to you, and the one that you pointed
All
out
right, Kenneth, take it easy.
was times. Do you recall that?
Well, the inconsistencies is they kept changing.
Well, that's right. I mean, you said that he said on June 8th he was at his mother's for, quote, a little while. And then you said he changed it on June 10th to 25 to 30 minutes. Do you remember testifying to that?
I do.
And then you said on August the 11th, he said he was there 45 minutes to an
Natalie,
hour.
I don't know.
Yes.
I got to think
And you
about
found
that.
that
think
those were
Gary
inconsistent.
Busey?
Well, there was a difference between 20 to 30 minutes and 45 minutes to an hour.
Well, let's work on that.
Okay,
He
we're gonna
left
work on that.
well, let me tell you, he told you that he left the Moselle property between 9 and 9:10, did he not?
He showed me his text messages, and it was narrowed down to 9:06. Yes,
All right, so he clearly told you.
9:04, 9:06.
So on the night of June
All right,
7th,
let's
early
skip
morning hours
forward
of
for
June
this.
8th, he told you,
Because
Look
this
at
is
text
not
message.
exciting. It's just going to go back and forth and back and forth.
That
and back
rhythm
and
going.
forth.
Email notifications to go in and find that report, or there's a new report available. Once I figured out that report existed, I searched my emails, and I did not have an email notification that report was there. There's multiple other reports. I had been in there multiple times looking at other reports, and that report, I did not see that report. I was not made aware of its existence.
sure. And it wasn't until after you saw that report that now you changed focus to the clothes he was wearing in the Snapchat video. Is that correct?
Restate that.
Yeah, I don't understand what you mean by that. But let's just skip ahead.
After dinner, he stayed at the house and took a nap when
3:27 p.m.
All right, hold on.
Information
This is the
provided
person
to you.
I want to hear.
Good, please, sir.
All right.
Good, please, sir. Be seated. State your full name, whatever. Spell your last name.
My name is David Grubbs, GRUBBS.
Hi, Mr.
Good afternoon,
Grubbs.
Mr. Grubbs. Where are you
Good afternoon.
employed, sir?
I'm employed with the South Carolina Attorney General's Office.
All right. And what is your job title at the Attorney General's office?
I'm the Chief Forensic Investigator for the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force.
All right. And then just briefly, let the jury know what the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force does.
So we assist agencies throughout the state as well as have our own investigators, and we look
Oh my
into
gosh, hold on, cement shoes. I'll tell you who that is.
peer-to-peer
in a
downloads
second.
that go over the internet, usually containing child pornography in them. We also do
It's Jonah
chat outs throughout the
something,
state,
Jonah Hill.
posing as minors to attract suspects. My unit specifically does the computer forensics for those cases.
Okay. When you say forensics, you mean, for instance, cell phone forensics, correct?
Yes,
So as part of your job duties, you perform cell phone downloads, extractions, and analyze them, correct?
correct.
And you've gone to a number of trainings in the past that's focused on that.
Yes, sir.
Correct? All right. Can you read for the jury your training in this area, please?
Sure.
I watched it earlier today.
So I am a
Hold
Celebrate
on.
certified operator, a Celebrate
Let me
physical
stop
analyst.
right now. I watched the entire trial. I don't like to make the audience sit through the entire trial on the show. I'd rather just give the highlights. That's it. All right, here we go.
I'm a certified blacklight examiner, which both of those are data extraction tools. I'm certified in Forensic Explorer, which is used to analyze computers. Griffi, Analyze training, the TIGO in the area of magnet forensics, which is Magnet makes the tool Axiom, which is one of our primary tools that we use. I've received advanced iOS and Gray Key training, advanced iOS examinations, Magnet Axiom advanced mobile forensics, Axiom-based computer forensic examination, and Axiom advanced computer forensics. I'm also a member of the United States Secret Service Cyber Task Force, Cyber Fraud Task Force to be specific, which runs the National Computer Forensic Institute in Hoover, Alabama, where I've been sent to for basic network investigations, Macintosh forensic training, digital investigation supervisor's course, and I received an award in 2020 and 2021 being ranked in the top
Thank you,
forensic
guys.
examiners with the Secret Service. I've had training from the National White Collar Crime Center, which is
this is too much.
called NW3C, in basic
Hold on,
data
you
recovery
guys.
and acquisition, intermediate data recovery, 27 p.m. The phone died, the battery went dead, and at 12:34:03, it had power again. It was reconnected.
And come on.
And at 12,
Did you identify when it's plugged in?
I did, sir.
All right. And can you just tell the jury on those two, when the phone died each of those times and when it was plugged back in?
Sure. So it is logged that on June the 3rd at 12:30:27 p.m., the phone died, the battery went dead, and at 12:34:03, it had power again. It was reconnected.
And come on. Take that from me. And at this time, state would move to enter exhibit 530 into evidence.
Submitted.
I will say this. I am having a
You
difficult
see it on your
time
screen up there? Oh, here it comes.
understanding
Okay, so
when Alec allegedly chucked her phone.
can you
That's the part I can't quite figure out.
zoom in a little bit? There we go. All right, so on June 3rd, 2021, what time?
Natalie,
Did
that's
Paul's phone
actually a good choice for
On the 3rd,
Alec.
12:30:27,
All right, what time is it plugged in?
12:34:03.
About 4 minutes later.
Yes,
correct?
sir.
A little less than 4 minutes, correct?
Yes.
June 5th, the first time, at what time did the phone die?
10:18:33,
All right, and what time was it plugged back in?
10:36:17.
So that would be roughly 17 minutes or
Yes,
so?
sir.
All right. And then June 5th, the second time, what time did it die?
21, 23, 21, 29, excuse me, or 9:23 p.m.
Okay. And what time was it plugged back in?
21:30, 21, or 9:30.
Okay. So roughly about 7 minutes later.
Yes,
Correct.
sir.
All right. And you just didn't focus on when Paul's phone died in the data you reviewed, correct?
Correct.
Did you find in what you reviewed, did Paul frequently let his battery get low?
Yeah, he seemed to kind of fly close to the sun. The phone was always getting down to 1 or 2% before he plugged it in.
And would you say, in your opinion, from the data reviewed, the majority of the time he let it get that low?
South,
Would he hopefully get
GA's,
plugged in before it died?
do
Yes,
you
sir.
have
Except
like,
during that week.
hold on,
for
I
those
don't want to talk
specific
through
occasions.
this.
Correct.
I feel like I'm screaming. I respect your opinion. Do you have somebody in mind that you think committed these crimes, or are you just? I mean, you're not required to have somebody you think. I'm just curious if you do have somebody you think committed these crimes, or are you just watching the trial and feel like at this point the state has failed to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and so that's why you're saying that? Because I mean, any way is acceptable. I am just curious. I want to know because I know for me, I think this is the first trial that I've watched where I know a lot of the backstory. Usually when I watch a trial, I don't know like all the ins and outs of the case the way that I know this one. And so it's easier for me to be a little less biased. But what I'll say is, even if this is what I believe for reals. Do I think that it's more likely than not that he committed these crimes? I do. I do think it's more likely than not. However, do I think that at this point the state has proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt or met their burden of proof in any way, shape, or form? No, I don't. I think that they are just a little shy. I think that there are, gotcha. I get it. No, I get it. South GA Stacker, I get it. No, I just think that, I do think that there is room thus far for a little bit of, for reasonable doubt. And, but what I will say is, at what happened at the end of today, which maybe we should just get to that because that's really important. I think let's just get to that. What do you guys think? Or do you want to hey JB, I do think a lot of it has to do, in my opinion, I need to not read the chat while I'm trying to answer a question. So for me, a lot of where I see there being reasonable doubt is in the way that this case was presented. I know that initially they had already talked about this and they were not going to allow any of the financial stuff in, even to, so when it was allowed in, I recognized that they had to change course. And I recognized that when they had to change course, they also had to account for witnesses' availability. And I do understand that. But I think what's problematic for me is that some of the forensics, specifically the DNA, it made sense to me and I understood what the state was trying to convey, but I'm not the one sitting on that jury. The jury is sitting there, you know what I mean? And so I also had the opportunity to pause and rewind and listen again if I needed to, right? Until I understood it. So I feel like that's part of it. And the truth of the matter is, it's very, 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 very difficult to prove beyond a reasonable doubt when you don't have the murder weapons. They have a great circumstantial case, and there isn't. That's the They have no. You're not changing what I'm going to show. I just want to talk about this. It's the way that the state has laid the case out. It would be confusing if the jury was allowed to take notes. I think it would be less confusing because there is such a yeah, Kate, here. Let me give you the link. I think that for the jury, it's real disconnected. I understand what they're trying to say. I think that the biggest hurdle for the state or for the defense, excuse me, is that kennel video. And the reason that is so problematic is because we're not talking about Alec ever admitting that he was there and we're having a disagreement over what time he was there. Okay, babe, do you want your camera on or no? All right, I'm going to add you. Hi, babe.
I think they are very disorganized. And I think had they switched some witnesses around, like I feel like this guy, that the sled detective dude, I feel like he should have been in the beginning when they were like piecing it all together, because it's kind of weird to put like the main guy who pieces this case all together at like the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I feel like while you're piecing the story together, that should be at the beginning.
Right.
And then towards the end, you're tying it all up with a bow and letting them reflect on it. And I feel like
there you go. Thank you.
It's
Kate.
all over the place.
It is all over the place. It's like being inside my brain.
Yeah. Like mine too. But I have like the worst ADD, and me trying to like put together what they're trying to like put down here without in nice little increments where it all comes together. It's just not happening.
Remember when we watched the Wagner trial? It was very, very one dot connected to the next. It was completely in order. The way they're doing it is they have dot 1, then they went to dot 62, then 8, then 43, and they're everywhere. And now we can't now we don't have that.
Yeah, and like I think that the lady who did the gunshot wounds and this guy should have been together and had all the crime scene people in one
together.
And then and then had the testing done, like the testing people and the experts come in.
Yes.
It's so now you're throwing in a main dude who's piecing it all together for you at like way later when it should have already been pieced together. And it's like,
correct.
It just feels so weird. I don't know.
And the fact of the matter is, this witness is problematic for the state. Anytime
if he was in the beginning, not this guy that you have on, I'm talking about the guy before this, but like if he was in the beginning, it would have been like
Special Agent Owens. Yeah.
It would have been forgotten about, and then the other things kind of would have like fixed.
Right.
Like if they would have thrown that Snapchat video in after him, then it would be like, forget that stuff. That's good. But now you're like setting doubt later, which is bad, because it's like now they're going to be deciding soon, and you're putting doubt in their minds. Like the fact that he got information wrong in the indictment. This is bringing me back to Morphew, like all over again.
This is making me think about BK.
Yeah. Like how
Not
are
that
you?
they did, but the accusations that what people have been saying that the affidavit, the probable cause affidavit against Brian Koberger isn't 100% accurate, and that could be, probably that could be problematic down the line during trial, and they're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Yeah,
the
and then you
problem
have all
is
this
that
stuff.
this is the lead detective, because of what occurred at the grand jury, of course, the defense is going to know about it. Hello, it's the part of discovery. They're problematic, and
well, that's why we all thought there was that high velocity spatter on the shirt, because that's what
yes,
they said in the
yes,
indictment. We were all like,
yeah.
"Oh my gosh, there's blood on that!" And now, I don't know what they're doing, but I don't like this order of operations.
I don't either.
If they had just switched it all around, I think it would have went together well. And it doesn't help that like this is being added in and this is being added in and thrown it. Like you're a jury member, and you're like, what the heck? What car thing now? And now, more stuff keeps coming in. So I don't know.
I just
think
that. And then we have what happened at the end of the day. See, this is how it should have played out, and this is why I can recognize that I believe that the likelihood of Alec being guilty is, and I do think that the state, they're almost there with their burden of proof. But I'm not on that jury, and and like Kate and I've said, it's been very disjointed. And it's in the way that the case was presented. And I agree. The lead detective should not have been put on at the very end. And I will say this, the one saving grace in this is what happened at the end of the day today. Let's get to that. Let me skip to that real quick, and then we can talk about it, and you'll understand why the defense or the state may still have a chance.
What? Everyone will.
South Georgia, I'm assuming it's Georgia Slacker. I'm going to come back. I starred your comment, and I'm going to answer it after we watch this
With
part.
regard to the court's earlier ruling excluding not allowing the roadside shooting incident during cross-examination, I find that the defense opened the door to all of that testimony by questioning the witness as to the relationship between Mr. Murdaugh and Eddie Smith, payment of money to buy drugs, indebtedness, his overall relationship, and in order to not mislead the jury and to, under the doctrine of completeness and fairness, the court reverses its decision and will allow examination of witnesses regarding that relationship. And we'll be in recess till tomorrow morning, 9:30.
All right. Now then. LFT, you're so silly. Here's the deal. So, Cousin Eddie's okay. Wait a minute. Let me back the milk truck up. I'm not sure that Cousin Eddie himself is coming in. However, the roadside situation will, which means that likely they're going to play the audio that they referenced today before court started and they brought the jury in, because the state had wanted to play that. Now, will they use Cousin Eddie or not? Cousin Eddie is a dicey proposition.
For my
I want to hear what exactly. I hope they do exactly. I want to
but
see
I do
what
feel like
he's kind of like Eddie has to say.
Unpredictable, and I worry that
correct.
Thank you, Tia. That he's gonna come in and be like, just totally blow, like either ruin the case or come in with a home run. I don't know, but I feel like it could go either way. Like,
right,
he's either going to be really mad at Alex and he's going to do the case a favor, or he's just going to, I don't know. The guy is just, I hope he comes in though. I do, but
I'll say this. For me, all right, so let me answer South Georgia Slacker. All right. So South Georgia Slacker says, so you would feel comfortable sentencing someone to jail for murder when you can't show intent, don't have a murder weapon, nor a drop of either victim's blood on the supposed killer. Okay, so I'm going to take this one step at a time. The murder weapon is problematic. However, they did have the expert that spoke about the tool markings on the shells left at the scene, and the shells that were left around Paul and Maggie's bodies, the tool marks matched the shells that were also located around the property that were clearly from a different time, an older time, a longer time ago, I guess is the right way to say that.
Paul's DNA was on the shells too.
Correct.
So it was most likely his gun that was loaded at some point.
And the fact of the matter is, this is how it becomes circumstantial, and this is how circumstantial cases used to convict. So we know that the murder weapons are a shotgun and a 300 blackout, right? Is that the name of the gun? I don't want to say it wrong. I'm not good with
300 blackout rifle and a shotgun.
Okay. What two guns are missing from the gun stash at Moselle? A shotgun and a 300 blackout. Okay. Now, when somebody uses a firearm to unalive somebody, you don't always get blood on you. But to that end, we have Dale Davis, who testified yesterday. Yeah. And it's very, very evident. You can hear it in don't go watch it on any of the channels that cleaned up the audio. You don't want the cleaned up version. What you want is the original version, because in that kennel video, in the original version, you can absolutely hear the hose running.
Oh, and yeah. You can hear the hose running clear as day.
And it's not running. Whoever is spraying those hoses, or the hose, or using the hose, spraying, is not near Paul. And the reason I know that is because there are multiple times when Paul's phone, the camera pans down because he is trying to get a hold of Cash's tail, and you can see the floor of the kennel, which is not wet. So there's that. That's problematic. You can convict people on circumstantial. Before there was DNA evidence, people were convicted all the time on circumstantial evidence. Mm-hmm. Circumstantial doesn't necessarily mean it's worse. The truth is in my opinion, I think had they treated Alec like he was truly in the circle from the beginning, there would be a lot more evidence. The fact of the matter is they didn't, and that's problematic.
Yeah, I wish they got those clothes, because I think his initial outfit had blood on it, and he changed. And then he says he tried to turn Paul over, but there's no blood on his current clothes. So did you try and turn Paul over in your other clothes before you changed and didn't think about it?
Correct. Because that's problematic as well. What
Yeah.
else is problematic is the fact that Alec himself admits to picking up and handling Paul's phone. Okay. Yet nothing was found on Paul's phone, and there should have been.
He couldn't have rinsed the blue raincoat only because there was GSR on it. And if he had rinsed the raincoat, then the GSR would be gone too. So,
all right, I'm going to check again. Hold on. So I'm listening to you. Keep going.
I think it's possible he could have maybe wiped the outside of the guns off, then put them in the raincoat and moved them, but he couldn't have rinsed off the raincoat. They asked that question in cross, and he said, well, like, you know, if he had rinsed off the raincoat, the GSR wouldn't be there. So I mean,
right, exactly.
I think the raincoat, in my opinion, was just used to transfer the weapons.
Mm-hmm. I think they were wrapped and hidden, covered up with the raincoat. That's what I think. Mm-hmm. I agree with you there. But the fact of the matter is that kennel video, no matter how you cut it, is a huge blow to the defense. A huge blow.
I mean, minutes later, all their phone activity ceased completely.
Exactly. And we're not talking about, you know, we're arguing over like Paul or like Alec is saying, I was at the kennels, but it was at this time. And yet the cell phone data shows a different time. No, he has said from jump that he was not at those kennels. All right. I'm going back to look because now, LFT is saying in the chat that the floor by the floor of Chase's or Cash's kennel was wet. I don't think it was, but I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'm willing to go look. So I'm going to find it. Please hold. Not really hold, but we'll be talking about something else.
I think Sled really did, and I think Jim did a good job pointing this out today. I'll give it to him. I think Sled did a really terrible job because they were, one, scared of Alex, two, probably didn't think he was involved in anything because he was friends with a lot of them. So I think they overlooked him, and they didn't bother to look for his other clothes because they were hell-bent on his clothes that he had on at that point. They didn't bother to go check his mom's house. And when he crossed them and said, hey, you know, you didn't go look at this and you didn't go look at this. And the guy was like, oh, well, it's because we didn't have probable cause. You had permission to go and you didn't, which, I mean, not particularly his mom's house, but he had permission he gave permission to search like wherever or whatever he wanted. So that's the problem is, you know, they dropped the ball, I think, in a lot of things, but I do think there is still a lot of circles. I think it's huge that he was there minutes before all phone activity ceases. He's in brand new clothes, no blood on his clothes, even though he says he turned over or he tried to turn over Paul and he checked for their pulses, but he didn't. There's guns missing. I mean, I think there's a lot. Plus, I think the motive, I think there is motive. But the problem is I know the backstory and these jurors
don't.
Well,
and they might, but they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to.
Yeah. But like, in my opinion, there's motive. I think that, you know, his pattern now is, you know, sympathy, buying time through sympathy, like tragedies and sympathy, and then, you know, planning. I don't know. I think that he definitely had motive through his, like, the court date coming up for the boat accident and looking into his financials. And, but I don't feel like they're presenting it well. and they don't know the backstory like we do. So
right. Well, they might know the backstory, but they're not allowed to consider the backstory.
yeah.
All right, so we're gonna watch this kennel video again. I say I don't think that Cash's kennel is wet. The floor is wet, but everybody is saying that the dog bed was picked up. So we're gonna watch it and see it again. All right, here we go.
You too, Aries. How do I say it? Pure.
Get back. Get back.
I can't tell if it's wet or if it's like
It doesn't. That Cash's kennel doesn't look wet to me.
maybe like his foot was in water and or I can see what you're saying, but I can't tell if that's from
footprints. Look, the floor's not wet. He's not making any footprints.
Yeah, but see how you could see it's like shiny a little bit, but that could be from his like water bowl or whatever.
Yeah, but the shiny isn't indicative of wet. It's some type of finish that they have on that thing.
Could be
on the cement. It's not wet.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth. Hey, Bubba. That's a guinea.
It does look like finish in some shots, but then in other shots it looks like dry spots. So it's like it's hard to tell. So what's the significance about the wet floor?
Out the other kennel next to him is wet.
The one next to it looked like there was a wet line. But
to be honest with you, the hose.
I mean, they said it was wet there, and it didn't come from rain, and it sounds like he was using the hose.
Inside Cash. I'm looking again. I don't think that it's wet. I just don't. Next to him, I think is wet.
It doesn't look wet from far away, but it looks like it's hard to tell because from when he walks forward, it doesn't look wet, and then it looks like it could be some finish, but then there is some dry spots, but I don't know if maybe they painted over like the ground and looking like that.
He's got a bird in his mouth. Hey, Bubba. That's a guinea.
Okay. Even if I do concede, because I don't really want to argue about it anymore, that it's wet. At the end of the day, he was not supposed to be there. Who's hosing?
Yeah.
Who's using the hose?
I mean, what's the point of it if it's wet or not? What if he could be in there using the hose? Alex could be the one using the hose.
That's the argument, is who is using the hose. I don't think that Paul is using the hose.
No. Did they test the hose for DNA?
No.
It sounds like Alex might have the hose. Maybe he was spraying the dog because he had a chicken in his mouth.
That's the other part I want to get to. At what point because the people that have testified that know Bubba said it was difficult to get a chicken out of Bubba's mouth. Okay. So who got the chicken out of Bubba's mouth, and when did they get the chicken out of Bubba's mouth, and how long was the chicken in Bubba's mouth?
Yeah. But like, how does the kennel being wet or not wet make any difference if Alex was in there?
I just wanted to know who's using the hose.
Oh, okay. I thought
that's it.
I thought there was some argument made.
No,
that
I just want to know who is using the hose.
Gotcha. Because I was like, did I miss something? Like,
no, I just want to know who's using the hose. That's it.
I want to know
because that's who I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was Alex using the hose.
But what else I want to know is that okay. So Maggie is saying he's got a chicken in his mouth. And it's right at that point that you hear the water start running. So maybe there's, and oh, this is the other reason I want to know. We're talking about the water, whether the kennels are wet and how wet they stayed and how long they stayed wet, because there's argument about whether or not Alex rinsed himself off, which I think he did after the crimes, and in an effort to avoid tracking anything into the house, where he then changed clothes into the final ensemble we see of the evening, then drove to his mother's house. But this timeline is very, very, very
I thought he went
tight.
to his mother's house. I thought she testified that he was at his mother's house before the murders. I thought she said he got there around 8 and then stayed for 20 minutes. And then he was there. And then he didn't go back till the morning. So I think he went to his mom's house before the murders happened, not after.
Hey, Joneson, what are you saying, Alexandra? Just found out, Angry Mimi. Alexandra, well, just found out Judge ruled they couldn't bring it in at this time. That's if you're talking about what happened the side of the roadside situation, it's coming in. He changed his mind. I keep losing focus on what's important too, JT. Honestly, look, I need to quit going off into the weeds, and let me just say it how it is. At the end of the day, Alec isn't supposed to be at the kennels. He said repeatedly to multiple people, not just law enforcement, that he was not at those kennels. It is clear as day. I don't care what he's doing. I don't care if he's hosing himself off, if he's hosing Bubba off, if he's hosing the chickens off, or if he's hosing Maggie off. It doesn't matter really at the end of the day. Way off into the weeds. And thank you for getting me back on track, JT. It doesn't matter. He said he wasn't there. So it doesn't even matter what he's doing in the video, because he shouldn't be in the video to begin with. That's the point there.
No,
Boom.
I know he said it was between 9 and 10, but I thought that Alex's mom's caretaker testified to him showing up around 8 o'clock and staying for 20 minutes. We all thought he went. We all thought he left his mom's and came home and found them dead. But according to the testimony of the caretaker, she said he arrived at 8 o'clock and stayed 20 minutes. Then he went back home, committed the murders, and then he had that whole time where he said he was at his mom's house to clean up what he did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think, and then he didn't go till the next morning to his mom's and bring the raincoat. The detective said he left at 9:06. I'm so confused because that lady said that he got there at 8.
No, I think what she testified to is what they were doing at around that time, that they were watching a game show that evidently like repeats. They show multiple.
So she's saying, well, that's confusing to me then, because if he was there at, that puts a really, really tight timeline.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, so there's the one element, okay? He is where he said he wasn't. Does that prove that he unalived them? No. But what it does is it does put Alec Murdaugh with Maggie, with Paul, right minutes before. And we're not talking like 20 minutes. We're talking like 5 minutes before all of the activity on their cell phones cease. And if you
there's no way it wasn't him. That's his voice. I mean, he has a very distinct voice. I don't know how anybody could say it's not him.
And then you have, I cannot look at chat. It's too distracting. So you have Alec minutes before their activity on their phones ceases completely for the rest of the night from them. They did Maggie get some incoming? Yes, but they weren't answered. So, and Paul's weren't answered either. No more outgoing activity from Paul or Maggie at 5 minutes after this video was made, where Alex said he wasn't there. That's where the side eye starts. That's how it starts. Okay.
I mean, there's still time for him to leave immediately, switch his clothes, leave immediately, go to his mom's, dump everything in a dumpster or whatever, or wherever he hid it, on like over there somewhere, get his alibi, then go home,
Cousin Eddie has done a ton of interviews, and it is not Cousin Eddie. That's not his voice on that.
Oh yeah, no.
So now, then the next thing, and this is the thing, this is why the cell phone data is important, because when you look at the cell phone data from that evening, both Paul and Maggie were using their phones consistently. Paul was in the middle of two conversations. He was talking to a girl about movies, and he was talking to Rogan about cash. So all of those, and that's why Rogan is messaging Maggie to have Paul call him, because the last thing that Rogan and Paul talked about was making this video. They tried FaceTime, it wouldn't work. Rogan remembers and testified that during that phone call, he could hear Alec Murdaugh's voice. This is where it is problematic for SLED, and this I will agree with. Rogan was interviewed very, very early on. I'm talking within hours, and Alec at that point, and it was after Alec had said multiple times that he had not been down to the kennels. And Rogan is the one that said, I heard him on that phone call. And they said, what time was that phone call? And Rogan tells them they should have shut it down right then. Moselle should have then become, and the whole place should have been a crime scene. Everybody should have been escorted off. Alec should have been sat down and made to give a statement. If he doesn't want to, then, because he's an attorney, yada, 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 but at least should have been asked. But at the end of the day, the very bare minimum, SLED should have shut that Moselle down and turned the whole property into a crime scene and gotten everybody off that property. That is problematic.
So when did he come over there with the raincoat? The next morning or that night?
Let me think.
Hold on. Okay, so it was 6:30 a.m. and he carried a blue tarp in his arms. I'm wondering if he could have went over there, hid the guns in the closet, then come over, later and throw some, raincoat that looked like a tarp in there and left with the guns. Because she's like adamant that it was a tarp and it's a raincoat.
To be perfectly honest, I didn't think Shelley was adamant about anything in her testimony, if I'm being perfectly
blunt. When they asked her if it could have been a raincoat.
She kept saying it was a tarp. She said it was tarp-like. It was tarp-like. Yeah. She never would really say it was a tarp or it was a raincoat. She said it was tarp-like.
He had to have something pre-set up. Like I think it's possible that maybe like Cousin Eddie met him there and he did it, gave him all stuff, said, take this, I got to go to my mom's, bye. Like the more I hear things, the more I'm like, there could definitely have been a second person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I thought she said 8, but now this changes everything for me. I feel like there had to be a second person for him because they said he didn't stop on the way to the mom's house.
No, he didn't.
So
Look, I'm just going to tell you what my theory of the crime is based on what they presented in court. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think, as we see in this video right here, Alec is very clearly at the kennels. Okay. I think that he unalived Paul first. Maggie heard the shots. She comes because you don't think clearly when your children are involved. You will run towards danger every time when your children are involved. She ran towards the danger. The guns, then the rifle got picked up. Maggie is shot and unalived. Alex books it, rinses himself off, cleans himself up, goes into the house, changes the clothes, comes back out to the car, goes down to his mom's house, sees Shelly because he had to go. I mean, I think likely.
Where do you think he put the clothes and the guns is my question.
I think that that's the part that I think he had help with.
Yeah, I think he had help too. He had to have had help. I think now that, like, it's a very tight timeline. And I already thought the possibility of there being two shooters just because I don't know. I think he did it for sure. But
here's the thing. I know that there's a lot of scuttlebutt about the criminal organizations and whatnot. Okay. But what would be the point for a criminal organization to take out Paul and Maggie?
No point. And not only that, there's no way that man was spending $50,000 a week on pills or opiates. No freaking way. He would be dead. Like, that's the most insane theory to me ever, saying that he spent $50,000 on opiates like a week or whatever they said. That's insane.
But blackmail. I'll go down this rabbit hole with you. I'll go down this with you.
I'll say not guilty as to what they presented, but I think he's guilty. Like, I think it could come out as not guilty,
right?
With what was presented.
Okay, so blackmail with but for what? He had nothing. What were they going to get in terms of blackmail?
Yeah, dude was in debt. Like,
he was mortgaged to the hilt. Palmetto was just a few more weeks shy of getting in trouble themselves, or Russell Lafitte was just about to be in trouble himself and be removed. And so what would the blackmail be?
I mean, blackmail, wouldn't that be like keeping his family alive and holding something against them, like saying, I'm going to kill your family if you don't get me this money or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What would he,
Yeah. What are they going to get out of killing them?
Right. And then so some criminal organization unalives Maggie and Paul. They leave Alec alive. They're blackmailing him, so he hires cousin Eddie to bump him off. All he had to do was stop making it. Let's say he was being blackmailed. Let's say somehow or another he was making payments. Just stop making payments. They'll come get you.
And if he thought some criminal organization took out his family, he would have been a lot more concerned about that than
he would have been he would have been looking out for Buster. What about Buster? He just left Buster twisting in the wind.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. If it was some sort of organized crime situation, what is it from the Summerwells case? The Cornbread Mafia. Okay. Right. Why they still had leverage over him in Buster, and they didn't take it. And you know what I mean? I just don't think so. This is what I think happened. I really and truly honestly think that he did it. I think he had an accomplice to help to hide stuff? Absolutely. That's what the accomplice did.
And look, if cousin Eddie was the accomplice, he's not confessing that. He ain't dumb. He's a career criminal. The guy,
right?
You know what I mean? The guy ain't gonna be like, "Yeah, I was an accessory to murder, or I committed murder." He's never gonna admit that.
What happened is really, I think, very cut and dry. But the problem is that, and I don't even want to say this but it's true. SLED gave him preferential treatment. Had they not given him preferential treatment, had they treated him like they would have treated you and me, we would have a ton more evidence in this case. Point blank, period. That's it.
Yeah. I agree.
That's it.
And what about all the money that he was transferring to cousin Eddie through different names?
I'm putting this link down for you, Jones, and you want to come up? I'm going to drop the link. I'm good for like another 30 minutes.
Or I mean, that could have been it too. He could have had somebody just come in and do the deed, but lure them there for it to be done. But I still, regardless, I think he's still 100% responsible for them being killed.
If you want to come up, it's fine. Anybody can come up and say what they're going to say, but you got to be, come on, I got to follow terms of service, and you got to show me your face, because I'm not going to worry about I'm not getting peen bombed. I just don't have the patience for it today. And I really don't want to have to edit out the video. It takes too long and it's a pain in the ass. So just don't do it. Okay. I promise whatever you're working with, just keep it in your pants. None of us care. I will agree with that. Better to let 10 guilty men walk free than one innocent man fall. It's just that I don't think that Alex is innocent. That's the problem.
I think, however, if somebody else did it for him or whatever, I think he is still 100% responsible for what happened to his family. I feel like cousin Eddie could have definitely been that person. I feel like
this is a good
seems
point.
Like the guy who was easily manipulated by Alex and some money,
Mm-hmm. But again, there's the raincoat. Why carry it if you have a hitman?
Yeah.
There isn't anybody.
What did he bring the raincoat in for is the question. I mean, maybe he just had that on at the time. All right. Say he did hire someone to come, right? Mm-hmm. And he's outside. He's in the kennels, spraying the kennels down, right? So he's got this raincoat on so he doesn't get wet. Well, he's near the guns that were shot, so he gets GSR on it, but not, you know what I mean? So maybe he just had the raincoat on and needed to get rid of it, but blood on it.
Okay, so DJ Rob's blog. I swear that I think that Alex's father helped him in some way because of Paul's upcoming trial, and the man who testified, and Tinsley is who he's talking about, and the man who testified about demanding to see Alex's finances. Okay, I can say this
because he was on his
you have to be more specific, and I'm at, because at the time of the murders, Mr. Murdaugh had a solid alibi in that he was in the hospital.
Yeah, he was dying.
So
he was like,
yeah. I'm curious how this is what I want to know for tomorrow. Okay. At this point, can I see that there's wiggle room for reasonable doubt on the part of the jury? Yes, I can acknowledge that, but what I'm saying for me personally is that I believe that Alec Murdaugh did this.
I agree.
That's it.
If I was a juror and I didn't have the backstory or know all this stuff, I would probably rule not guilty because I would feel like there wasn't. But I just keep going back to that video though. Like, how do you explain that?
That's what I'm waiting for.
I need the defense to explain that away for me.
I actually want to hear the defense explain this video like 2% more than I want to hear Cousin Eddie testify.
Yeah.
So if I had to make a pie chart, 48% of me wants to hear Cousin Eddie testify, but 52%
and explain to me why Alex
of me
lied.
Wants to know about this video.
Yeah. Explain to me why Alex lied about it and said he was never at the kennels when he was. Like that I need to know too. He lied. So that's, I will always go back to that because that shows me he was there. And cell phone contact ceases. I mean, Paul was flirting with some girl, literally on his phone, flirting with some girl. Now, I'm sure everyone here can agree that when you're on the phone flirting with somebody, you suddenly just don't stop talking. And you know what I mean? Like if you're having a cute little like banter with someone you like, you don't just stop talking and cease phone activity. It just, like he was in the middle of conversations. He was supposed to, FaceTime, what's his name or whatever. Like everything just stops and Alex's voice is there and Alex lied about it. So how do you explain that away?
All right. So South Georgia Slacker, is it Stacker or Slacker? Stacker.
Stacker
says, I know the backstory. I live very close. And why would the defense explain a video that can't prove their client was there because he's not on the video? No analysis to compare the voice. Why not? They've had 7 people who know Alec say that they have identified his voice.
His voice is very distinct. I don't know who else. It's not like it's some common sounding voice or some muffled voice. That's Alex's voice. I mean, I don't know how else you could explain that away. Cousin Eddie does not sound like that.
No, he doesn't. Not only that, but before that video was even made, Rogan heard him on a phone call.
Yeah.
And Rogan didn't just tell the cops that. He said it to Maggie's parents in front of Alec.
Mm-hmm.
And and I will say this, at the end of the day today, when they were on redirect, the state said, and this is an important fact, we're talking about the clothes, et cetera, right? And this is important. Did he bring the clothes in? Did he say, they're right here? What the hell are you talking about? Did he offer to? The fact that Alec ensemble that he was wearing in the Snapchat video, nobody can find, is problematic. Why wouldn't you be able to find that outfit? What would be the need to get rid of that outfit? It's not like the cop car outfit that Alec was wearing. That got turned over to
not only that, but if you're some cartel, okay, going to Alex Murdaugh's house to murder his family, why are you using his guns? I don't know. I just think that's weird. If you're a cartel going to kill somebody, you're bringing your own shit. What if you know what I mean? They don't know. How would they know that he's got guns laying all over that they can just grab? Most people lock their guns up. If you're going to somebody's house to take out their family, like a cartel or something like that, you're bringing your weapons. You're not using, I don't know. I get that they could have just been like, oh, never mind, let me just grab these guns. But then how did they get close enough to Paul and Maggie where they have stapling or whatever the hell it is in their shoulder? If it's a cartel, man, they're not getting anywhere near them. They're having to shoot from far away. I mean, it almost seems as though somebody was standing inside that storage room with Paul when he was shot.
I changed my mind about inside the storage room. I saw something today. I'll tell you about it later. That has changed my mind. I know that there is a way that you can make it bigger on YouTube, but I don't know that way. A way to zoom in. I don't know how to do it. Hold on, let me see.
I mean, they could have been outside and the shells could have flew all the way in, but it would be kind of hard to like get through that doorway, I think, for the shells to fly into the storage room from outside.
This is what I'll say. So I'll make it big on the screen, and if you're on your phone, if you turn your phone to portrait mode, turn the chat off, and you can zoom in on the part that you want to zoom in on. I just can't remember how to do it on a laptop. I'm sorry. I
can't get down with a cartel there. I just
No.
can't. No way. They would have their own weapons.
Yeah, they would. Let me say
it wouldn't
this.
be on the day that Alex
me
just
tell you
happens to get confronted about his money. It's all very, I don't know.
Let me just say this. Nobody does it make logical sense to anybody in this chat, all 104 of you in here right now, 107. Put a 1 in chat if you would show up to a person's house to unalive them unarmed. Put a 2 in the chat if you would BYOG.
Bring my own gun for sure. I'm not going to a
right. Do not go
assassinate
into a home
someone.
where you know that the house.
I'm not going to a gunfight without a gun. Like, come on, man.
That's ridiculous.
Not only that, but if you know the people have guns and you're the cartel, you're definitely coming with your own gun, dude. Like, they're gonna shoot you. That's just no way. No way.
John Marvin sounds like Alex.
So what would be John Marvin's motive? John Marvin don't have a motive to kill.
So
Alex's
then why do?
person.
Okay, so then let's say they do sound alike. My sister and I sound alike. Why not say that from the very beginning when he's confronted with it? Why not say that's not me? That's my brother.
Yeah, my brother was at the house visiting. Why not say that? And at least you'd have an alibi, but that you were gone. No, he was there. That's definitely his voice.
Right, but we're not talking South Georgia Stacker. We're not talking about your registered, lawfully purchased, you have all your paperwork in order type of, we're not talking about that gun. You guys are also, people in the chat are talking about potentially the cartel or some other organized crime. I guarantee you they use their own gun.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're going to a place to kill someone. And
at the end of the day, you know your firearm and you know it works. Why would you take your chance to pick up somebody else's? Hell, look
and
at
get shot.
Look at how Alec look at how Alec loaded the shotgun. It was a 12-gauge shotgun. He put 16-gauge ammo in it. What if, I wouldn't trust somebody else's firearm. I would bring my own firearm.
Yeah. And I'm not trusting to go to someone's house and they're not going to shoot me before I shoot them with their own gun.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm not risking somebody who has guns going to kill me before I can get my hands on it. No way.
This logic is backwards. You're saying exactly what a cartel would do. If you're arguing the cartel, oh my God. I'm not agreeing with you. I'm pointing out the flawed logic. The cartel would bring their own guns. They wouldn't borrow the homeowner's guns. That's what I'm saying.
No cartel person would go in there risking, without a gun, without their own gun, risking going to a place where there is guns and getting shot by those people because they have guns. If you're a cartel going to kill people who have guns, you're going to bring their own guns.
I don't even know why we're off in the damn weeds about a cartel. At the end of the day, the only person who,
because that's what they're trying to say it is.
and Maggie's death is Alec. And Tinsley put it exactly right. He wasn't getting an actual physical financial gain. Okay. What he was getting was sympathy. And Tinsley himself had said he would drop him as a defendant in the lawsuit from Mallory Beach's family. That's what the motive was. That's what the problem, that's what he wanted. Then in September, when time ran out and he was going to be on the hook for the financial stuff that he found out that they fired him and they were going to law enforcement with it. That's when
he was also named a suspect at this point. So he knows he's a suspect.
Correct.
He knows he's caught by his firm.
Correct. So then he says to himself, well, he's like, poo, oh, bother, you know? And what's he going to do? Calls up Cousin Eddie and asks him for a favor. Why he picked him, that part still doesn't make sense to me.
What can I do to throw police off or kill me because I'm going to go to jail anyway and give Buster my money? Either way, he's doing it because he knows he's caught, in my opinion. If he was doing it because he wanted to make it look like whoever killed Paul and Maggie were now trying to kill him, or he really wanted to be killed and give the money to Buster. Either way, he knew because he was fucked. You know what I mean? Excuse my language, but either way, it's because he knew he's being backed in a corner.
Thank you for coming, South Georgia Stacker. Peace out.
Yeah. I mean, it's not what ifs, it's stuff that actually happened.
Whatever, I can't. The truth of the matter is that,
I mean, I get what he's saying. If I was a juror and I didn't know all this stuff, then I might, if they don't have a little bit more, I might feel uncomfortable about doing it. But still, I still think that about saying he's guilty, but I still think he's guilty.
Right.
I
mean, here's the thing. We're having a discussion, okay? I'm not bound by the jury rules, okay? If I were, I wouldn't be talking at all. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. My point in all of this is that nobody but Alec Murdaugh himself benefited from Paul and Maggie's death. And the fact of the matter is, Alec was more concerned, according to his sister-in-law, Marianne, that he cleared Paul's name in the boat accident, which tells you exactly where his head was. If he can clear Paul in the boat accident, right, then if Paul's not the driver, then Alec can't be a defendant.
And Alec gets off, and then they don't look into his financials.
Correct.
I mean, duh, that's why he wanted to clear Paul's name.
I mean, sometimes, and I understand that when you put on a financial motive, most people think of financial motive as tangible finances that they gain. But in this situation, that's not that.
And this is so different too. It's not just finances. This is a lawyer who was well respected, and his family was well respected. This isn't just, oh, they're gonna catch me in this. His family's name is on the line. It's more than just money. You know what I mean? Like, to him, there's more of a motive because he's going to look like an ass. Like, how can a man
honestly, you guys, I don't think that the jury is not going to convict him. Okay. Because I do listen to Law and Crime, and Gigi reports all the time from inside on her observations from the courthouse. Okay. And I actually think that the jury is paying very, very close attention. They are I think it's difficult, but I think that they are keeping it as straight as they possibly can. And I think what they're going to do, because this is something that's said so frequently in closing arguments by the prosecution and even the defense to an extent, you are allowed to use your common sense when you are weighing the evidence. Okay. And when you have a circumstantial case, it is the
You have to use your common
totality
sense.
of all the evidence. It's not taking one piece of evidence and giving it 100% weight, and taking another piece of evidence and giving it 0% weight. It's the totality of all of the circumstances. And I think that the jury will find Alec guilty, but I concede I'm not all knowing. I'm not, I'm not, I don't know the future. And even if I did, I would not waste looking into the future on whether or how a jury was going to vote. I'd be trying to figure out the lottery numbers, and that's just the truth. So I'm not going to say for 100% sure that's the jury's going to convict him. I don't know that any more than anybody else does.
Yeah. I think if they can do a really good closing argument where they can put it all on a really nice bow and really stress, how do you explain him being there right around the time their phone? I mean, how do you explain
Johnson,
that?
they have more than the video, okay? Because they also have Shelley, who saw him with some blue raincoat tarp-like thing, which turns out has gunpowder or gunshot residue all on the inside. Okay. They have blood on the steering wheel that matches Maggie and Alex, which honestly should match all three. There should be Alec, Maggie, or wait, is it? Yeah. Wait, is it Alec and Maggie's blood?
Alec and Maggie's blood.
Right, Alec and Maggie's blood. When the truth of the matter is, if it got there the way the defense is trying to say, which is from Alec touching them to check for their pulses, it really should be the DNA should be DNA should be Alec, Paul, and Maggie. That's the truth. It should be a combination of 3 DNAs, but it's not. It's just a combination of in blood of Alec and Maggie. Alec is probably touch DNA, but you can't really tell.
Murdaugh tried to manipulate Blanca into saying he was wearing a different shirt.
Correct. Then you have
the guns are missing.
The guns are missing. That the shells that were found around Paul and Maggie's bodies have Paul's DNA on them. So Paul loaded
the gun he was killed with.
So Paul loaded a stranger's gun.
Right. And like I said, a stranger, just think about it. If you were going to go kill somebody, right? And you know they got guns at their house, right? I mean, yeah, it's nice to think, oh, yeah, let me just go to their house and grab their guns. But you got to grab their guns before they grab their guns and take you out. You know what I mean?
Right. We don't know what Cousin Eddie's alibi is, the conservative, because Cousin Eddie hasn't really been talking. So we don't know. Okay, so then you have that's part of it. Then you have the absence of blood on Alec's clothes when there should be blood on Alec's clothes. He touched the he more than checked he more than checked Paul's pulse. He admits to trying to roll him over.
Yeah.
That scene was pretty gory. Okay. Then you have that he should have had blood on him somewhere. If nothing else, he could probably stepped in it, something, but he's clean as a whistle. That's problematic. Then you have Miss Shelley, not just with the raincoat, but the actual alibi. When the timeline is tight and you have a person saying they were at a specific location for 30 to 40 minutes, when in truth they were really there for 20, that gives that, then that moves the unaccounted for time to a different slot. Do you see what I'm saying? 10 minutes here or there makes a difference. And now that we know, according to Shelley anyway, that he was at his mom's house for 10 to 15 minutes less than he said he would, that's 10 to 15 minutes more time he has to get rid of things.
And look, a good lawyer who knows the system knows that his alibi needs to be tight. So, Cousin Eddie's attorney on Law and Crime assured us Cousin Eddie had an alibi.
I mean, I don't know what I just want to hear what Cousin Eddie has to say. That's what I just want to hear. We've all talked about Cousin Eddie. We know Cousin Eddie has a whole, like, you know.
But isn't every attorney going to say, "Oh, my client has an," you know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, but still, I mean, but the truth of the matter is, I'm sure Cousin Eddie was investigated. A lot of people were investigated. That's my other point. Okay, my other point is this. Before yes, they always had, Alec was always in the circle, okay? But you know who else was in the circle? Every single person associated with that boat lawsuit. Mallory's family, Anthony Cook, Connor Cook, all of them. Anybody that was associated with that boat case was a suspect. They even looked into Stephen Smith's case for retaliation. The truth of the matter is, nobody else knew but the firm that Alec was stealing money from his clients. The clients didn't even know. The Satterfield boys, they had no clue. They just thought they were waiting. They just thought it hadn't settled yet. Nobody but the firm in June knew that Alec was stealing. So there's no revenge to be had. Anthony Cook has come out and said multiple times, I know for a fact in Low Country, I don't know if I can't remember right now if he said it in which other documentary he said it in, but at the end of the day, any beef that Anthony Cook had, which was Mallory's boyfriend at the time, they squashed their beef at Mallory's funeral. He said that Paul was sorry for it. He also said that Paul was a good guy.
Yeah. I just don't think, I mean, think of it this way too. He was going to be, they were in the middle of a lawsuit to get money. Like, why would they just kill him instead of suing him? You know what I mean? I mean, I get maybe they somebody from there would want revenge, but why go through, like, I don't know. I don't see it being someone from the
nobody
boat.
Nobody had a motive. If they were angry with Paul because they thought he was getting away with something, why kill Maggie?
And why, like, roll up? All right, if you just wanted Paul for the boat, why roll up on Moselle and where the whole family would be? Just find Paul alone, or take Paul out separately. You know what I mean? I don't know. I have a hard time knowing everything that I know. I have a hard time thinking it's not him. But I agree, if I were a juror and I was just being presented this through the prosecution, I'd probably have trouble with it because of the way the prosecution is presenting it. But knowing everything that I do, I can't find a way to get in my head how someone else could have done it. Like, I can't.
Right. I think that the jury right now, this minute, on this day in court, is having trouble connecting all of the dots. That doesn't mean none of that doesn't mean it all. Okay. that doesn't mean some of the dots are not connected. I think they have connected some of the dots. And I think what's going to happen is the state's going to rest. Harpootlian is going to put on his case. He's going to have a footprint expert in there, blah, 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 blah. And at the end, the state is going to rebut. They're going to see where the holes are. They're going to fill in the gaps. They're going to connect the dots for the jury. They're going to have their closing arguments, and it will all click and make sense. I think part of the problem is I think the state intended to present it a specific way, and when Mr. Griffin opened the door to asking character questions out during cross-examination, I think that the state decided to take advantage of the opportunity that the financials were going to be allowed to come in as to prove motive, and they changed course. And I think that's what happened to the case. I think that the state had a way that a plan in the way that they intended to present it in the first place. That's what happened. And it got derailed because they allowed the financial stuff in. And I
can see that.
And I
like
would wager that the people that were to testify in the financial stuff said, looky here, we still have to work. We can't just be hanging around waiting for you to call us. We're available this day, and this day. Or you know what I'm saying?
I agree.
And everybody else was like, we can work our schedules out. So they put the people up that they could put up in the moment. Even Harpootlian said, if the state doesn't finish their testimony, they're going to have to put on a witness out of order because they can't afford to fly him back.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But yeah, I mean, I also can't figure out, like, here's another thing. If it was somebody else, who else could it have been that has enough motive to get close enough to Paul and use Paul's shotgun to kill him? I mean, besides what's her name's boyfriend, but they worked it out. So I can't see.
And there's no evidence of anybody.
Yeah, there's no DNA from him.
There's no evidence of anybody else being in that house either.
Mm-mm.
Like, even if
there's
I'm
no
not even going to go
evidence.
down that. There's no evidence of anybody else being at that scene.
Yeah.
Period.
I'm sure if it was like, Mallory's boyfriend or whatever, there would have been text or something to him. Hey, I'm coming over or something like that. You know what I mean? It would. There's really, if you really, really, really think about it and try, I feel like if you try and work your way out of it being Alex, you get pushed back into it being Alex.
Exactly.
Because you're like, where else could it go? You know what I mean?
And let's say this. Maggie is unalived on a day when she wasn't even supposed to be at Moselle. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
She wasn't supposed to be there. She went there because why? Because Alec asked her to go with him to see his dad, which they didn't even do. That's why she was there.
They never even went. He went to go visit his mom. He didn't even go visit his dad. So just none of it adds up. And none of it adds up for anyone else being there that's close enough to Paul to get that close to Paul with his own gun. There's no way. There's no other motive that I can see other than Alex. Like, the more I try and find other excuses, I can't. And I just think that $50K excuse a week on drugs and stuff like that is to create reasonable doubt and make them think that some cartel person or something there. Because there's no way. I'm sorry, but that is ridiculous. $50K a week on, wasn't it $50K a week or something they said? That's insane.
It was a ridiculous amount of money that makes no sense.
Yeah, no way.
So at the end of the day, although we went off in the I went off in the weeds for a minute and was trying to, no, I'm not doing that no more. That's it. I'm not doing it no more. I'm done. When we meet tomorrow, hopefully we'll have we'll Cousin Eddie will have testified, or if not Cousin Eddie, we'll at least have that audio. They're gonna play that phone call between Sled and Alec Murdaugh and Jim and Harpootlian. So
I really hope they bring Eddie in, though. I hope they bring Eddie in.
I just want to see what he has to say. But it's getting late, and I need to get off here. And thank you, Kate, for coming up. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Anytime. I'm going night-night. I'm tired.
I'm going to finish my diamond painting. It's coming out really nice.
Let me see. Oh, I love it. Let me take this down and make you full screen. Hold on. How do I make you full screen?
It's funny now that I see it far away now, because I can see like up close. I'm like, I couldn't figure out what all that was, but it's inside of the back of the tank. It looks so cute.
Hold on.
It's my lizard.
I'll figure it out. Give me just a sec. Keep it there. Which is the one I push?
Try just clicking on my picture, see if it opens up. I forget how to do it.
Solo layout right here.
There we go. See?
I figured it out.
I'm going to get one of each of my lizards and
I love it.
And hang them up.
So cute.
Yeah, you can take any picture and you send it in and they turn it into a diamond king.
I love it.
Yeah, I got one personalized. I'm going to do it for each one. I think it's so fun.
Oh, I love it.
Takes a while, but it's relaxing and fun to do while you're just sitting there, you know.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Thank you, everyone, for coming. If you haven't done so, give me a thumbs up. Hell, if you don't like me, give me a thumbs down. Either way, so I ain't holding no grudge.
Hey, it all helps the algorithm.
It all helps the algorithm. I'll see y'all tomorrow, okay? Either way, I'm coming live, and we're finna talk about whatever shenanigans go down tomorrow. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Good night. See ya.